What is going on, everybody? And welcome into week 4 of the NFL season. And quite frankly, it's already kicked off. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars up 17-0 in London up against the Atlanta Falcons. And just kind of some quick reactions. How y'all feeling about that game? Looks like Jacksonville starting to run away with it. They went for it inside the 20, turned it over on fourth on downs and into the half. So you happy with Atlanta's performance? Probably not. You happy with Jacksonville's bounce back? What do you guys think?
I think we can put to bed the Desmond Ridder experiment in Atlanta. I think it's become very clear that he can't do it as an NFL quarterback. I think it's time for them to, if they want to lose the rest of their games and get Caleb Williams or Drake May, they're right on track. But if not, they need to put Taylor Heinicke in the starting lineup yesterday, or to start this second half would probably be a better bet.
Yeah, they did not name Ridder as a team captain to start the season, which was a red flag. They paid a ton of money for Taylor Heinicke. When you're paying that much money for a backup quarterback, it's not a good sign. And so I do think we see Heinicke here soon. And anyone that has Kyle Pitts or Drake London on their team, they are excited about that. Heinicke's not a huge upgrade, but it obviously looks like he's an upgrade over Ridder.
He's a professional quarterback. He'll be great for Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
He will definitely be better for the pass catchers than what Desmond Ridder has been. But you still got to realize that it's still Arthur Smith calling the plays, which means they're probably still going to be running a metric pass time. But without further ado, let's get into some start-sit conversations, all the different games for the week. Who you should get in your starting lineup. We'll start with some of the questions that we have on here. And, hey, Nate, thanks again for joining, as always. And he says, hey, Geno Smith or Daniel Jones? Geno Smith or Daniel Jones? Dave, I'm going to start with you since DJ is kind of your boy with the New York Giants. So where are you going in this decision?
Yeah, if it's 4-point, that makes it a lot easier to go with Jones. They both run a little bit. Jones is going to have to run a lot more. Andrew Thomas is not in. So I am going with Daniel Jones just a little bit on this one. I think you can play both this week.
All right. Anybody picking Geno out of these two? Am I the only one?
Oh. Yeah. No, it's really close for me, but I'll take Geno.
Yeah. Look, Dave, I'm sorry. The Giants that offense is not clicking right now. It's not. You know, you see Paris Campbell 6 catches for 20 yards, Wan'Dale Robinson 4 catches for 20 yards, Isaiah Hodgins not doing anything that we saw last year, Darren Waller disappointing, no Saquon like that. Brian DeBall offense is just not clicking right now. They've really struggled through the first 3 weeks of the season. And Seattle's defense is, typically a pretty decent mainstay for that team. So I'm rolling with Geno here.
You're leaving out the key rushing upside for Daniel Jones. I mean, he's going to pick up the rushing yardage that Geno Smith isn't. And additionally, Seattle's defense hasn't been that great this year, whereas the Giants defense can still punch with anybody and hold anybody accountable. So, Daniel Jones, I think we're forgetting how much of a rusher he is because he hasn't had like a 200-yard throwing, 50-yard rushing game all season other than week 2 against a bad Arizona team. And last week, he only ran the ball 2 times. He's going to run the ball double-digit times each week, week in and week out. And that threat to be a touchdown just – as I sat here and thought about it and listened to everybody's, I was like, wait a second. One of these guys runs and the other one doesn't. So in a neutral, if the passing's, maybe slightly skewed to one guy, you got to have the rushing balancer.
Yeah. 2 sub-10-point fantasy games for Daniel Jones. So
against
the aren't really doing
San Francisco
right
and Dallas.
Top 5 defenses.
Hey, that's fine.
Against top 5 defenses.
Argue that he's got rushing upside. I get it.
He did.
I get it. But I don't know. Can anybody on the pod honestly say that the Giants' offenses look worthy of starting anyone on that squad right now? Is it somebody that you want to start right now?
Oh, want to? No, I think Waller organically kind of is a start, right? Just because of the tight end landscape. But yeah, want to start? Probably not.
I mean, the other thing is they're coming out of a stretch against two where they played two of the top 5 defenses in Dallas and San Francisco, and their life gets easier here this week with Seattle and next week with a porous Miami defense as well. So buy low on your Giants players this week. I mean, if you can get them into your lineup, if you can get them on your roster today, get them onto your roster because they're going to have upside next week because Miami is just atrocious on defense right now.
All right, let's move on. We could sit here and talk about the Giants Seattle game, and I'm sure we'll get into some other players as we progress through the start sits. But Nate's got one more question. Hey, we got a revenge game, the New England Patriots up against Dallas Cowboys today. Are you interested in Ezekiel Elliott? Do you think he has a revenge game? Does Bill Belichick give him that opportunity? Let's go to Andrew for this one.
Yes, I actually have already bet this anytime touchdown for Zeke. I do think that I don't think Bill Belichick's thinking about it as a, hey, I definitely want to get Zeke some work here, but I think organically it is going to happen for him. And it won't surprise me, potentially is the first touchdown for the Patriots today. So yes, the revenge spot is real for Zeke.
Love it. All right, let's move on. We're pulling some start sits off of the Twitter thread. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick on Zeke, just also, we're being told that Zeke has been impressive. The staff's been happy with how he's looked, and he's going to get starter reps against his former team. And this is a Dallas defense that gave up 200 yards on the ground to the Cardinals last week. And Zeke is better than James Conner right now.
Than James Conner?
Yeah, because Arizona rushed for 200 yards against them last week.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, man, that's a debate for another day, I think, maybe, because I think I'm on the Conner side there as well. But let's move on to an actual start-sit conversation for somebody to be useful instead of us bantering back and forth around players. But so from Twitter, we're going to go with a couple rookie quarterbacks right now. Who would you start between Bryce Young against the Minnesota Vikings and CJ Stroud against TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let's go to Adam.
CJ Stroud all day. He's looked much better. His receivers have been far more dynamic, and they've trusted him to put the ball in the air a lot more than the Panthers have with Bryce Young. Frank Reich, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to get that Panthers offense going. And even though they have an easier matchup, Pittsburgh's defense hasn't looked like what we've known it to be in the past. CJ Stroud's been consistent. He's been getting the ball out to Nico Collins and Tank Dell. And John Mechie is that third wild card there as well as Robert Woods. He has the receivers. He'll have the opportunities. CJ Stroud is proving that we were all wrong about Ohio State quarterbacks.
Yep, I love it. And you mentioned John Mechie. That's another guy. I want to see one more week where we see some progression in snaps, right? Coming off of that leukemia, being healthy, he saw about 12% of the snaps in week 2. We saw him jump to around a little over 20% last week in week 3. So if we see him in that 30 to 40% range this week, now I'm really going to start to get excited about what John Mechie might be able to do in that offense. So CJ Stroud all day, as Nate says as well.
I'll take Bryce Young.
Oh, you'll take Bryce Young. Okay, let's hear about it.
So I honestly, I think this is just what the Steelers defense is going to be able to do. The Texans offensive line, obviously everyone understands that it is dog shit at the best. And this is probably the best defense that they've played so far. I feel like CJ Stroud's about to have a welcome to the NFL moment here. TJ Watt is going to make that man look silly. So I really think it's just what the defense can do against the offense. Nothing against CJ Stroud. I agree with everything that's been said. I like CJ Stroud, but just based off the matchup, I would rather start Bryce Young. I'd rather start neither of these guys, to be honest, but if I have to choose one, I'll take Young.
Interesting. All right, Dave, break the tie. We got one Stroud, we got one Young. Who are you starting out of the two?
Yeah, I think what Andrew said at the end there was what you need to hear. I'm not starting either of them if it's a one quarterback league. But if I had to choose one, it's CJ Stroud. And it's Young hasn't looked good. He's, we know the weapons are not really great on either side, but the weapons have looked a lot better in Houston with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Not necessarily concerned about Mechie right now. It's Collins and Dell look really good. And I think, it's going to be it's a better matchup. But we still got to see Houston get that line together. So I still have both those guys, in the 20s.
Love it. Love it. All right. We got a couple questions. Shane says, hey, pick one, KJ Osborne, DJ Shark, or Sky Moore. Full point PPR. Let's go to Andrew.
Oh, I'll probably take Sky Moore. I'm thinking about all these guys with opportunities. Yeah, I think Sky Moore may touch the ball a little bit more than both these guys. Matchup based wise, I think Moore and Osborne are pretty close together. So I'll take the best quarterback out of all these guys and Patrick Mahomes with Sky Moore.
All right. Adam, who are you leaning out of these three?
Definitely going Osborne this week just because he's still been involved in that Minnesota offense. I know we all love Jordan Addison, but Osborne's been involved. He's been consistently involved, and Minnesota is able to get everybody involved because until last week they weren't able to run the ball, really consistently. And, Osborne still 15 targets. He's, still up there, and he just needs to get his catch percentage up. But I like his opportunity here, and I like Minnesota to have a big game this week against the Panthers.
All right. And Dave, out of these three, where are you at? Let's see if we muddy the waters real good for him.
Now, I'm going to stick with Osborne. For me, Sky Moore's the easy out. And so Osborne here, him and Chark are close, a little lower on Young. The offense actually did look a little better with Andy Dalton last week. But Osborne, like Adam said, he's still involved in the offense. He's still getting targets, and they have nobody to cover anybody back in Carolina. J.C. Horn is on the IR. Xavier Woods just left with injury. They're depleted on a really already bad team. So,
yeah, I am very high and was very high on DJ Shark in the offseason. I thought he was going to be the alpha, for the deep threat for that. It came to fruition last week, but that was not with Bryce Young throwing the ball. That was with a veteran in Andy Dalton. So I'm putting DJ Shark on the bench until I kind of see what happens. So, yeah, I think it's almost a clean sweep around the KJ Osborne. So get him in your lineup, Shane, and good luck this week. Let's move on to Bean Productions. Bean says, hey, Jalen Hurts or Tua? Who'd have thought this would have been a start-sit question in most circles, fantasy circles, before the season started? But we've seen Tua just come on fire with that Miami Dolphins offense. So let's go Adam. Tua or Hurts?
Hurts all day.
I thought you were going to shock the world and say Tua here.
God, no.
Against his Buffalo Bills?
Okay, I'm going to go over a couple things here, okay? One, Philadelphia has, Hurts has looked really good. He has the rushing upside. Yes, I think Tua is going to have a productive fantasy day, but I would much rather have Hurts on the field at all times, because I do think there's also a chance that this is the best defense Tua's played in a couple weeks. I think that the Bills defense with Leonard Floyd has looked rejuvenated with the pass rush, and they're playing in Buffalo. This is going to be a hostile environment for Miami. The Bills secondary is healthier than they were to end the year last year with Micah Hyde back. Jordan Poyer missing is a big thing, but Taylor Rapp brings some speed that the Bills defense did not have last year. And Miami's a run-first, run-often team, and Tua doesn't run the ball. So Miami's going to beat the Bills with the running game if they beat them, which I don't think they'll do. But Miami needs to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands as much as possible, which means they need to run early, run often.
Anybody on the Tua side? Negative, Ghost Rider. All right. Good luck, Bean. Move on to the next one because he's got another question. PPR, pick one in the flex spot. Do you go Zach Moss, Tank Dell?
Is it Tank Dell or Tank Bigsby? I know it just says Tank. I'm assuming Dell, though.
I would assume Tank Dell just because Bigsby's already playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Dell. That's true.
I'm assuming the Palmer's Trey Palmer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Zay Flowers.
Palmer could be Josh
You
Palmer.
think maybe Josh Palmer?
Yeah, it's probably Josh Palmer.
Okay.
If you're starting Trey Palmer, you are in trouble.
Ravens. What's that?
I said if you're starting Trey Palmer, you are in some trouble.
Hey, he's got some work, man. He's got some work. All right, Dave, let's go to you with this one. Zach Moss, Tank Dell, Joshua Palmer, or Zay Flowers?
Yeah, Trey Palmer's at the kid table. He's not in this group. I'm going to go with Zach Moss. I don't like the matchup for Flowers. Cleveland is the number one defense against receivers. Zach Moss is getting all of the work. I know Jonathan Taylor possibly is coming back next week. So, yeah.
All right.
Andrew,
go ahead, Adam. Yeah, go ahead.
It's pretty straightforward. It's Zach Moss. I mean, he's just been getting all the work. He's been rushing consistently for them. He looks good, and Anthony Richardson's back, so the defense has to key on Anthony Richards now and can't lock in on Zach Moss.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of – I mean, Moss is the guy to me, but it does worry me a little bit that Anthony Richardson is back, right? I mean, he rushed for 2 touchdowns before that concussion. That red zone work might not land in Zach Moss's hands. So that does worry me a little bit about Moss. I do think he's the start out of these 4, but it would not shock me if he ended up with 12 rushes for 60 yards and nothing else, right? So there is a little bit of concern for me around him. Andrew, go ahead, man. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. For me, it's between Palmer and Flowers, actually. I like Flowers a lot based off of he should get a decent amount of work. The matchup scares me, though, a little bit. Palmer is kind of the wild card here for me a little bit. I don't really want Tank because, again, I'm kind of on the Pittsburgh's going to show Texans, that they aren't as good as they played last week. I think Anthony Richardson kind of hurts Moss a little bit around the red zone, so I'm worried that he's not going to get those opportunities because Anthony Richardson seemed to run the ball really well into the end zone. So it's Palmer or Flowers. Yeah, I guess I'll still take Flowers. I just think he probably sees more targets, though I do think Palmer has a very good opportunity with the matchup in front of him.
Yeah, I don't think they'd take Richardson's running away at all, but possibly down by the goal line after he got hurt week 1 on a goal line run. He got hurt on a touchdown last week. He's already missed a game, already had a concussion, already had a knee or an ankle. They're not going to take away his rushing because that's his stick, but you got a bruiser like Moss at the goal line might make more sense.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Hey, are you starting anybody on the Bears other than Justin Fields? DJ Moore is a guy I kind of marked down. It's like, what do you do with him this week? Are you comfortable with him in the flex? Or are you benching him for guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell? Like, what are you doing with the Chicago Bears? Anybody outside of Fields, Dave, that you're interested in starting?
No, I'm staying away. I'm sure Andrew's going to start Roschon. DJ Moore is around 40. There's just way better options that are a lot safer. Number one, I can't trust competent coaching to do what we want them to do. The Broncos, yes, they look like complete dog crap last weekend. Pat Surtain against DJ Moore. We saw Jair Alexander take more out of the way. Fields can't read a defense. They're a mess.
Yeah, I don't even know that I want to start Fields, to be honest. Like, they're not letting him run the ball at all either. So I might be sitting all the Bears, regardless of who it is. Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, Dave already alluded to it. Give me Roschon Johnson, baby. I'll also start Herbert as well. Both running backs. I mean, did we not just see what happened to the Broncos run defense last week? I don't think that the Bears are going to do anything like Miami did, but they did expose a weakness last week in in Denver's defense. And again, Brian Robinson played them. He went for a billion yards as well. So their run defense sucks right now unless they just completely commit to stopping the run. I don't think that they're going to truly be able to. So I'll start both running backs.
I love it. Let's see how much that love goes, though.
Hold
Andrew.
on. Hold on. We left out a key.
We'll get to you here in just. I want to put Andrew's love of Roschon to the
Okay.
test.
Okay.
Are you starting him over Breece Hall? Because Trey's asking that question.
Man, that's really tough to do. Breece Hall. Man. Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. Roschon all day. Breece Hall is going to get, maybe 7 carries, 8 carries? Kansas City's going to be blowing them out of the water. Why put Breece Hall out there to get hurt in a meaningless game they're going to get blown out of? So, yeah, Roschon, he's going to get more opportunities. Let's go.
Get it. All right, Adam, what do you got about the Bears, Roschon Johnson, the whole situation?
We skipped over Cole Kmet, who, as a tight end, the tight end landscape right now is your guy going to get 5 to 8 targets and have some red zone work? And the answer for Cole Kmet is yes. Cole Kmet, last week was a down week for him against Kansas City, but this week against the Broncos defense that, again, as we alluded to, got shredded last week. And I feel like at some point they're going to let Justin Fields start to run the ball, and that's going to open things up and really solve some stuff in their offense. I think Cole Kmet's a guy you need to have in your lineup unless you have a lot better tight end option. But if you're just throwing a dart at one of the guys ranked 6 through 15, I'd rather have Cole Kmet week in and week out because he has the cleanest path to a touchdown, receiving touchdown in that Bears offense.
It pains me. It pains me because I was very high on Cole Kmet in the offseason. He got the contract. 44 yards and 0 touchdowns. That's the best game he's had this season. 44 yards. Then he had 38 yards.
Brad, it was 40. Oh, no, that was a
22
rushing
yards.
attempt. That was a rushing attempt. Yep.
I'm not. Look, I love Cole Kmet. He's my tight end 20 this week. He is nowhere near my starting lineup until the Bears start to show some level of offensive strategy, right? When they shift like they did last year and let Justin Fields start running the ball and just making plays outside the pocket, that's when I'll be okay starting Cole Kmet. There is no way he's even remotely close to a lineup right now. And I love Cole Kmet. That's the tough part for me.
Side note for the Bears, Chase Claypool is expected to be a healthy scratch. So it looks like they're probably going to release or cut him. Anytime you're trying to put a guy on ice, you're probably trying to move him. I could imagine some team goes and sends a package of chips and gets him. It could be like a 2027 7th round pick swap at this point. But he could get cut. But Chase Claypool is definitely, he's called out the coaches, he's called out management, and he's loafing on the field. I think if you're looking for a scapegoat, a fall guy, the Chicago Bears cutting him would be a win at this point.
But that's not their problem. Chase Claypool isn't the problem with this team. That problem is it's coaching. Justin Fields has the athleticism to be a usable starter in the NFL if you put the right tools and scheme around him. And you've overcomplicated that offense. You can see it because we saw last year, there were moments where he would pull the trigger and he would make a throw, and he just needed to trust his receivers. Right now, he has no trust in his coaching, and none of the players have trust in that offense or that coaching, which means you've overcomplicated it. You need to make the game simpler. Justin Fields is going to go be a backup for somebody after this year. And if he lands with the right coaching staff, he's going to get a shot again to start games in the NFL because he has too much athleticism not to be a useful player. He's a more athletic Tyrod Taylor type guy, and he just needs the right system around him because he has a bigger arm than Tyrod Taylor and more athleticism. So with the coaching, he can be an NFL starter. You just have to accept the fact that we need to make our offense fit our players, not our players fit our offense.
Yeah, you need a Shane Steichen type of coach for him. You need a guy who's going to build an offense on what he does well instead of forcing to try to develop him in game to do things that he's not good at.
Yes.
That's what the practice field's for.
And
So-
the team's not good at it. They can't pass block on top of it.
Yeah, they're
too.
terrible. They're terrible. So, all right. So before we get to another start sit question, it's a similar type situation, but hey, we got some backup quarterbacks that are going to be playing this year. So I'm going to put you in a situation. Let's say Derek Carr is your super flex starting quarterback. He's your second starting quarterback. He's playing this week for the New Orleans Saints. But would you be willing to go to the waiver wire and start a DTR or an Aiden O'Connell over a sprained AC joint, Derek Carr, up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who can rush the passer? One hit, he's out of the game. Would you be willing, or are you interested in DTR and Aiden O'Connell in that type of situation? Let's start with Andrew.
Yeah, only because it takes one small hit for Derek Carr to no longer be playing this week. So yeah, I definitely would. Man, out of those two, that's tough for me. I'd probably go DTR just because of the rushing ability. But it is close. I would prefer to not start either if I don't have to. If I have other options to put in that super flex position.
Let's say Baker's your third. Going up against Saints.
No, I'd probably play DTR actually in that aspect. Yeah.
Sam Howell's your third.
Oh God, man, why you got? You know what? If he wasn't getting,
It's in
sacked
the range.
Yeah.
If he wasn't being sacked at a historically, embarrassing rate, I'd probably go Howell. But no, I'll still sit Howell today against the Eagles. I hate to say that, but DTR.
All right, Adam, how about you? DTR, Aiden O'Connell, Derek Carr, Sam Howell, Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ritter, who doesn't matter now because he's already playing, but where are you for this week with those guys?
DTR for sure. Just again, like Andrew alluded to, the rushing upside. And this is just me. Anytime I can play a guy who has rushing upside over a stoic pocket passer, I'm going to be in on it. It's why I was a fan of Sam Howell, because Sam Howell needs to run the ball to be effective. And for whatever reason, Washington can't get him to run the ball. Aiden O'Connell is a statue back there. This line got Jimmy G hurt already. They're not going to do much better for Aiden O'Connell. And even though he gets to throw to a better receiver in Davante Adams, he's still not going to be relevant. I think it's DTR. I like him a little bit more than Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is a tough guy, and it's all pain management at this point. Can he pain manage through this? And if he's playing, I'm going to be hard pressed not to start him because he has that dynamic receiving core. I don't know. DTR probably, but you could talk me into Carr. I'd need to sit there and stare at it for a long time. And I'd make the wrong choice probably at the end of the day.
Jamie, be good, man. Thanks for joining us. Good luck on your show today as well. And Dave, anything to add on the DTR or Aiden O'Connell front?
I'm a big DTR guy. He was my QB6 coming in this year. He's got 40+ starts, and he's not just a runner. He can throw the ball like Malik Cunningham. He's like Malik Willis. One read and go. But he can throw the ball. We saw it in the preseason. He looks good. And he's got a good situation. My concern with Carr is this. They're probably going to try to game plan to run the ball a whole lot with him being banged up. You don't want to put him in harm's way. Tampa Bay is really hard to run against. And so they may have to be forced to do some passing, but I just don't see the ceiling high enough to risk it, because the floor is he gets hurt on the first drive and you're sitting there looking at 0.4 points and you're kicking yourself, wishing you would have started anybody else.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. All right. We spent a lot of time talking about quarterbacks. Let's move into the running back position with this start set question. Would you start Miles Sanders for the Carolina Panthers or Rachaad White going up against New Orleans Saints?
Is Sanders playing?
He is expected to play, is what I saw earlier this morning. I haven't seen it in the last 30
I'm
minutes.
checking the news now to see if I get any updates for us.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So you said who? Sanders and who?
Sanders against Minnesota or Rachaad White against New Orleans?
So neither is not an option, right?
That is correct. You got to start one up.
Man, I like the matchup for Sanders, but again, injury, is always scary when they're questionable all the way up to Sunday, and then you throw them in there. So, yeah, I guess I'll go Rachaad White. He might catch a few passes too.
All right, Dave. Rachaad White was kind of your boy coming in a little bit. You were pretty high on him. Are you willing to start him over Miles Sanders right now?
If Miles Sanders is playing, I'm playing Miles Sanders. It's a much better matchup.
All right, Adam.
Miles Sanders has been playing better, but I would also be okay with Jordan Addison in this scenario.
Well, he wasn't an option.
I'm looking at the screen right now, and I say DJ Moore, McLaurin, Rachaad White, Miles Sanders, or Jordan Addison.
This is a different question. We weren't quite on this question yet. We were Miles Sanders or Rachaad White. I'm like,
well, why is it on the board if we're not talking about that question?
I'll take it off the board. If we're watching games while we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching the game. We're doing back end stuff. Like there's a lot of things going on over here right now.
Yeah. All right.
Miles
let's
Sanders
just move into this question because it includes these guys anyway, so we'll answer it. So Bean says, "Amen, PPR league. He needs one guy: DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Rachaad White, Miles Sanders, or Jordan Addison." I think we got Adam's answer already. He said Jordan Addison. Let's Andrew, where are you at with this one?
Yep, Addison. Not going to overthink this. I would love McLaurin, but I can't trust Hal to keep upright with as many sacks as he's taken. So yeah, definitely Addison.
All right, Dave.
I'll stick with Miles Sanders on this one, but it's Miles Sanders or Jordan Addison for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Jordan Addison. Let's move on. We're going back to the running back position. We're going to stick with it. Would you rather have Joe Mixon and the Cincinnati Bengals or the hot commodity #1 week 3 running back in Devon Achane or Devon Achane? Dave, let's go with Dave.
It's Achane.
Achane.
What were the two options?
Joe Mixon or Devon Achane?
Oh, man. I got Mixon slightly ahead of Achane in the rankings here. They're obviously trying to keep Joe Burrow upright. I think his release was less than 2.5 seconds last week. So a lot of Joe Mixon dump offs and things like that. They're both in consideration. I have RB19 and RB24.
All right. Adam, let's go to Adam.
Joe Mixon, because, in this Shanahan offense, how many times have we seen just a running back pop off for a giant mega week? And then the next week he's in witness protection program, nowhere to be found. Joe Mixon is a consistent performer. He's consistently been double digit, pushing 20 touches a week, averaging, 60 to 75% of his team, high 60s, low 70% of the team snaps every week, getting work. And like Dave said, the offense is running through him right now. Give me Joe Mixon all day. I just, I like Achane. I think he has the home run upside. That's a ridiculous week, and I don't see him having another ridiculous week like that. And he did that on 40% of snaps in a blowout.
Okay. So
what's his snap usage going to be in a much tighter competitive game this week?
So Andrew, I'm gonna swap it up for you. I'm gonna make you the unfortunate one here. So instead of Achane, let's say it's Mostert. Would you start Mostert over Joe Mixon?
100%.
Okay. So they're getting, at least last week, the snap share was pretty damn close, right? And I understand game script drove a little bit of that. But where are you guys and how, right? Adam, you talked about the Shanahan, how he can be a different guy every week. This isn't Kyle Shanahan. This is, McDaniels.
It's a Shanahan offense. It's a Shanahan offense still. It's an outside zone run. He was raised in the Shanahan. That's the thing. It's yes, it's not technically. It's whatever. It's a Mike McDaniels offense. But at its core, at its beliefs, it is a Shanahan offense. It's much like how Andy Reid at his core is a West Coast offense. Offenses might go through some little tweaks, but they're still going to maintain the core principles. And the core principle of the Shanahan McDaniels offense is that you can win with one of us at running back and another one at quarterback, so long as your line is blocking well. And they focus on the line. They focus on smart linemen, good running backs who can hit the hole and turn it up the field. It doesn't matter other than that. They'll plug and play anybody. Shanahan, McDaniels are all about no one is bigger than the system.
Fair enough. All right, Nate's got a question around Derrick Henry. Hey, look, my Cleveland Browns shut him the F down last week. I think through the third quarter, he had -7 rushing yards. He did end up in the positive by the end of the week, but it was ugly for them. Is this the bounce back game for Derrick Henry? Or do we need to wait on that weather to start to get cold where all they do is pound the rock? Dave, are you trusting Derrick Henry in your lineup today?
Yeah, I'm not putting Derrick Henry on the bench. The biggest concern of the whole thing is the usage. We're seeing a lot of Tyjae Spears, not just on third downs. We're seeing him in 2-minute offenses. We're seeing him on the other, and that is a concern. I don't know if what they're trying to do over there. Derrick Henry doesn't seem like he's lost it. The first couple weeks didn't look as bad as last week. So I'm going to take Derrick Henry. I think that the Titans know if they want to get right, they're going to go on him. I put in the chat that Treylon Burks is out. I know Hopkins has been banged up. This offense runs through Derrick Henry, and if they want to win football games, they're going to go do that. They also are another team that cannot pass block.
Love it. All right, let's go to another running back question. We got
one more
the return. Go ahead.
One more thing to feel good about Derrick Henry. Before last week, the Bengals' previous 2 rushing performances gave up 178 yards on the ground to the Ravens and 200 yards on the ground to the Browns. So this is a Bengals defense that can and will be taken advantage of.
For sure. I love watching the Bengals stink it up. It's such a great thing for me. Such a great thing for me. But all right, we got another running back that is returning, and we hope not only returning to the field, but also returning to form in Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints. First week back from his 3-game suspension for his off-the-field issues a season and a half ago, actually. So where are you willing to put him? Are you going to start him over guys like, let's say, Javonte Williams, over Achane, a guy that we just talked about, and over DeAndre Swift? Out of those 4, what 2 are you starting? DeAndre Swift, Devon Achane, Javonte Williams, and Alvin Kamara. Let's go, Andrew.
It's a good problem to have here, I think. I will probably go with Swift and Kamara. The Kamara one for me is a little dicey, only because he's just coming back now, but it is from suspension, not injury, so you don't have to worry about like the injury aspect of it so much. But I do worry about how they integrate him into the system right away. But Derek Carr, obviously he's a little injured himself, so I don't think he's going to be chucking the ball down the field the whole time. Might be a little dink and dunks to Kamara. And then Swift, it's just hard to sit her right now. My Commanders are kind of middle of the pack right now at stopping the run. They do have a good front 4. So I could see Swift having a bad day, but it's kind of hard to sit him right now with what Philadelphia's offensive line has been able to give him. It's like a couple yards before the first point of contact for him. So those are probably the 2 for me.
All right, Adam.
I'm right there with him. It's Swift and Kamara for me, just because while Kamara was out, this is a Saints team that gave their running backs more than close to 60 touches over the 3 games. So 20 touches, and no one was doing well with them. They were doing okay, but they're not doing great. This is an offense that's going to want to run through Alvin Kamara, and did throughout much of last year. And when you look at Derek Carr's history with running backs, he's going to get his running back targeted close to, his number 1 running back targeted close to 50 times a game through the air in the passing game. And Alvin Kamara is a better pass catcher and a better player with the ball in his hands than Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is good. Nothing against Josh Jacobs, but Alvin Kamara is elusive, and he's this modern NFL running back that you want. You're going to be hard pressed to start many guys over him. He's it may take him a little bit, but he has to be in your starting lineup, and he has to be treated like an RB1 as soon as he's back.
All right. So it sounds like we got two guys leaning, Kamara and Swift. Dave, do you see this any differently? Are you trying to squeeze A-Chain or Javonte Williams into your lineup over the other two?
Was Josh Jacobs an option?
No, he was not.
Okay. So yeah, I'll go Kamara and Swift.
All right, cool. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position now. And obviously, if you've got questions, hit them in the chat or our Twitter thread, and we'll be sure to get those answered as well. But we've got a rookie phenom in LA right now named Puka Nacua. And Dave, you kind of led towards this in the offseason. You said, look, do not sleep on this guy. Everything about him says he's going to be good. But would you be willing to start him right now in a flex spot over Tyler Lockett, who has also been the apple of Geno Smith's eye for a year and a half now at this point?
Puka or Tyler Lockett. You got to start both those guys. I mean, that's a great decision to have to go. I'm going to go with Puka. He's getting the targets, and he's the number one on his offense currently. But I'm starting both those guys. But yeah, Andrew, we did talk about Puka this week or this offseason.
Yes, very much so. I was heavily in on Puka. Love Puka, and for me, it's Puka. I'll start Puka over Tyler Lockett. I mean, Puka leads the NFL in targets. It's so hard to sit him. I'll trust Stafford to get him the ball over Geno to get Lockett the ball.
All right, Adam, any difference for you?
Nope, none at all, because I still think Tyler Lockett is going to be supplanted at some point this season by JSN. Give me Puka Nacua. I wish I'd, believed Andrew just a little bit more and gone after him a little more aggressively in some of my dynasty drafts, because I could be sitting here with Puka Nacua after I get him in the 4th round of rookie drafts, feeling really good about my receiving core.
Yeah, my big concern for Puka, and really it's not Puka, it's the Rams in general, is the Indianapolis Colts defense has been very, very good this year. Just in general, from a team perspective, they are the one weakness though that they're allowing is at the wide receiver position. If you look at fantasy points against, so Puka is definitely the win there. But I do see a world where that game script, the Rams have a little bit of an issue scoring points. So, but he's definitely the guy over for me. All right, let's look at another wide receiver matchup. You got 3 guys, 1 choice. That's what we're looking for here. Chris Godwin, just not the apple. We talked about the apple of Geno Smith's eye being Tyler Lockett. Chris Godwin is not the apple of Baker Mayfield's eye. This dude is not getting the targets. He's not getting the opportunity that we kind of lean towards in the offseason. So are you starting him? Michael Thomas, the return, looking good. Or Tank Dell, rookie phenom for the Houston Texans. So Tank Dell, Michael Thomas, or Chris Godwin. Adam.
Give me Tank Dell. He's just been the guy that CJ Stroud is looking for week in and week out. Thomas, we talked about that AC joint sprain. I like what he's been doing, but Derek Carr, a little banged up, going to focus on the checkdowns and focus on getting it to the best receiver in that team, which is Chris Olave. It came down to those guys really for me, and Tank Dell has just looked really good. And against a good pass rush, Stroud's going to need to get the ball out quickly. He's going to look at his receivers he's going to look at Dell, who's been getting open underneath and working for him there.
Andrew?
I'm going to take Godwin. I think Mike Evans has a tough time against Lattimore, as he always does. It's kind of going to, open up opportunities for Godwin. Love Tank Dell, but again, I can't really go against my, the way I think this team's going to go. We're just kind of dominating on defense a little bit. So, yeah, for me, it's Godwin.
All right. And Dave?
I'm going to go with Dell. It comes down to the volume. Even if Pittsburgh does dominate the game, which I do think they do, Houston's going to still pass the ball a whole lot. And Dell has been, talking about apple of an eye, he's been getting 10 double-digit targets.
Yep. Love it. Love it. All right. Hey, we got an injury. Unfortunately, Mike Williams out for the season, tore his ACL last week, and we saw Josh Palmer step into that role immediately and be the main benefactor last week. So does that roll into week 4, or does rookie Quentin Johnston, first-round pick Quentin Johnston, take over, and would you start him over Palmer? Andrew?
No, I'll start Palmer this week. But if I had to pick one of these guys to hold on my team all year long, I'd rather hold Quentin Johnston. I just think that, they drafted him for a reason. He's a very good 50-50 ball guy. So I do think that eventually he will overtake the number 2 role on the team. But until that happens, Palmer's the better bet, to go with currently.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, they already told us that Palmer was playing ahead of Johnston the last 3 weeks. And so you look at snap counts, targets, air yards, everything. I mean, Palmer, and he stepped up when Mike Williams has been out before. Let's not forget how good he was with Herbert last year when Williams was out. Johnston's still a rookie. He's still figuring things out. I think he's going to get more involved. But Josh Palmer is the number 2. But don't sleep on Gerald Everett. I know that we're not talking about tight ends here, but in a very, like Adam said, in a very rough tight end landscape, like it is every year, Gerald Everett is another guy. He played well when Mike Williams was out. He is, he's got the receptions, the targets. He's just not getting the red zone targets. And so Parham is absolutely killing him. But I think you see him get more involved now. We saw in this Kellen Moore offense, Dalton Schultz turn into a top 5 fantasy option. I don't think Everett does that, but I think he gets closer to the top 12 now.
See, you brought up the guy I'm actually most interested in sticking in my lineups, and that's Donald Parham, because Donald Parham has been over 50% snap share to start the season. He's got 3 touchdowns already, and I think the Chargers are finally starting to realize we have this 6'8" athletic freak. I might have been 3 years early on him in 2020, but it's hard to ignore a guy who's 6'8", runs well, and can out jump everybody and runs routes. He's going to get more involved. He can run down the seam there and open up that offense. And that's what this team needs right now. So Josh Palmer, maybe, but give me Donald Parham. Throw him in your flex spot because he's just producing touchdowns at an obscene rate right now.
All right. Let's move on to another group of wide receivers, a little bit deeper, but maybe not as much as what we would have thought at the beginning of the season. Would you rather start Courtland Sutton for the Denver Broncos or Jacoby Myers for the Las Vegas Raiders? So typically, I'll take this first. Typically, this would have been a really easy decision for me with Jacoby Myers, seeing what he's been able to do with Jimmy Garoppolo in his short period of time with the Las Vegas Raiders. Problem being, you're now looking at Aiden O'Connell, and you just don't know. They're likely to lean on Josh Jacobs. So unfortunately, this week, I'm going to roll with Courtland Sutton, even though rest of season, I want to go Jacoby Myers. So, Dave, let's kick it to you first. Are you going Jacoby Myers or Courtland Sutton?
Courtland Sutton. He's been getting the targets, and now we have a little bit more of a, of a sample size. This Bears and Broncos game, it could end up being like 6-3, or it could end up being like 40-40. I mean, they're very dysfunctional franchises right now, and I don't know what to expect. But we're seeing the targets, and Courtland Sutton, he's more and more healthy. He was coming off a pretty significant knee injury. I mean, the description was he blew up his knee, and so it did take a little bit for him to get back. But he looks good, and he's definitely their best red zone target, and so I'm going to take him. I do think they try to protect the rookie. I like Aiden O'Connell, but I do think they try to protect him. You see a lot of running today and a lot of short passing game.
All right. Anybody taking Adam, Andrew, anybody taking Jacoby Myers over Sutton right now for this week?
Yes. I'm going to take Jacoby Myers purely because young quarterbacks are always looking for the guy who's going to show open. And Jacoby Myers is doing a really good job of showing open. He's being friendly to his quarterbacks. And Courtland Sutton just hasn't been involved. Despite playing a full game more, Courtland Sutton only has one more target than Jacoby Myers. and only has 20 more yards, and they're equal on touchdowns. Jakobi Meyers bounced back last week. Another good week. I just think knows this offense. He's showing open. And, I think there's going to be some potential for some interesting stuff to happen in the wide receiver landscape with the Raiders being so bad and the Broncos being so bad. And a young guy like T. Higgins, I think there's a chance we see some wide receivers get traded in the middle of the year this year with so many teams in spots they didn't think they'd be in.
All right. We've talked a little bit about quarterbacks. We've talked running backs. We've talked wide receivers. Let's get into the tight end landscape, as messy as it is. Obviously, you're starting Kittles and Kelsey and Andrews and those guys, TJ Hawkinson. But after those four, it starts to get a little muddy. And this is deep, deep, deep. This is Scott Fishbowl type scoring. Would you rather have Donald Parham, who was pretty clear Adam is not a huge fan of, David Njoku, or Cade Otton?
Well,
Okay,
Adam,
if you don't know, David Njoku had some burns and some injury coming into this.
When did that happen?
Today, but he does have a little bit of
What is he
house,
doing to get his arms and head covered in burns? Like,
it was a bonfire or campfire accident. But Adam, did you have another point to add on the last conversation?
No, I just wanted to throw a hypothetical crazy trade out there. Devontae Adams for T. Higgins and a pick. And it helps both teams in real life because Devontae Adams has an out at the end of next season while the Bengals still have Jamar Chase on that young contract. And Devontae Adams is very clearly sick of playing for the Raiders already, and not to a Chandler Jones level yet, but something's rotten.
Which side is the pick on?
The pick would be going to Vegas.
Oh, you're saying in real life.
I'm saying in real life. We're going to have I wanted to throw out a real life because I think Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, and all of the Broncos receivers can be had right now for teams, as can Mike Evans. So I think there could be some really interesting shakeups middle of the year with the skill position players that we haven't seen in a long time. But going back to our tight end conversation, it's Donald Parham all day.
It was a pretty bad option, so I may consider Parham. I mean, he's not getting – it's really hard to predict touchdowns. And I know there was Eric Ebron that 1 year, but, like, Parham's, like, his efficiency is what, like a touchdown every 2 catches?
Yeah, he's got, like, 6 catches and 3 touchdowns right now.
So, I mean,
but
he's got like stay in the flames. NBA Jam rules apply. He's on fire. But I think he's going to cool off at some point and then could end up fading away. But Cade Otton, I mean, that's not really an option. And then who was the other?
Njoku.
Well, yeah, and Njoku. I mean, they said like they're worried about him putting his helmet on because he's got the burns on his face. I mean, man, I did move Njoku down quite a bit just because, you don't know. I mean, this guy just got hurt, and with these burns and things like that, like I don't know. And then now you have the DTR, which I like, but there's a lot of curveballs going to that. So I'll stay in the flames and boom shakalaka, Donald Parham.
All right, Andrew, let's go to another tight end question. We'll kick it straight to you. Are you starting Pat Freiermuth up against the Houston Texans or Hunter Henry up against the Dallas Cowboys?
Okay, very, very interesting duo here to choose from. Probably still go Freiermuth. I just think he can do more damage between the 20s. I think they both can obviously score touchdowns, but I do think Freiermuth maybe gets a little bit more opportunities in between the 20s. So I'll go Freiermuth.
All right. Adam, let's go to you for that one.
Sticking with Freiermuth. I mean, it's just he's been reliable. Kenny Pickett looked better last week. It seems like, and it feels like a shootout this week between Pittsburgh and Houston.
All right, Dave.
Which one was this? Sorry, I was watching Johnny Smith continue to get targeted over Kyle Pitts.
Henry or Freiermuth?
I got Freiermuth above Henry, but they're 2 spots. I mean, it's really close. With Deontay Johnson out, it just continues. You have to look for more options. Freiermuth is, he's one of their top options in the end zone.
Yeah, I get it, but Hunter Henry is getting targeted. Like, he's the target leader for the New England Patriots. It's hard for me to sit him right now. He's gotten more targets every single game than Pat Freiermuth has. And while that's happening, I'm going to stay in. I don't know if I want to call it flames or not, but that's where I'm going to stick right now, is with a guy that's getting those targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, week 1 and week 2, and they're going up against the Dallas Cowboys, where I could see they're going to need to throw the ball, whereas Pittsburgh's going up against Houston. And if their defense is as good as what it has shown the last couple weeks, you could see that game ending up being in a situation where they're not really trying to throw the ball. They're just running with Jaylen Warren and running with Najee Harris. So I'm rolling with Hunter Henry, but I'm 1 out of 3. So who am I to make?
We're also talking about like tight ends 9, 10, 11. So like these guys are going to score a whopping 9 points. The other guy, Brad's going to be right because this guy scores 10. Hey,
I'll take that win. I'll take that win every week, baby.
Those points.
Right.
I was looking at the top 12 tight ends and looking at their you're a top 10 guy and you score 30 points. It is ugly.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's go with one player from each of your teams. We're at an hour. I want to end us with a little bit different go. So, Andrew, for the Washington Commanders, let's say you have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel. Who are you starting out of those 3 right now?
Just because I think he'll see less coverage than Terry, I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. I mean, he's due for a bounce back. He has no touchdowns yet. He was wide open in the end zone last week, and Sam Howell just missed him because he was under pressure. I do think that Dotson I think they see probably about the same amount of opportunities, but McLaurin's going to be on Slay. Not that Slay has held him down, in the games that they've already played each other, but I do think McLaurin can get double covered more than Jahan will. So I will take Dotson. Definitely fade Curtis Samuel. He's a big play guy, but if he doesn't get that big play, he's not going to make it for you.
Love it. All right, Dave, let's go to the New York Giants. Same question. Let's say you have Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell. You have the whole slew of them. Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. Waller is not an option. Who is your go-to this week for the New York Giants?
That was a terrible draft. I would never go full Giants on here. I would take Hodgins. The corner Tariq Woolen is out for Seattle as well. So I will take Hodgins because I do like his red zone targets. Darius Slayton is he's a big play guy. Like, he gets the air yards. And if he does pull one down, you're probably going to get 30 or 40 yards. He's like our Josh Reynolds kind of a guy. But I'm going to go with Hodgins. I think he gets the targets, and I think he gets the red zone targets today.
All right. And Adam, you have one that doesn't even count. We're not even putting Stephon Diggs in there because, of course, that's a no-brainer. But let's say you're looking at Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, and Gabe Davis in a game that could be a massive shootout. Who is the second target for Josh Allen this week?
It's going to be Gabe Davis. I mean, it's been consistently been Gabe Davis. They've been waiting for him to just take that step. They keep giving him work. He's getting involved. He's a big play guy. He's the kind of guy you need in a shootout like this, but you could also, you could put 2 of those 3 guys in your lineup and be happy. Either of the tight ends, because again, this feels like a shootout. That morbid Broncos offense put up 20 on them. What is Josh Allen and a good offense going to do to the Dolphins defense? And, don't forget, Josh Allen owns the Dolphins in a big way.
I love it. I love it. Any burning questions, start sit decisions that you all have before we get out of here? Andrew, we'll just do round robin.
So, and again, I even hate to ask this, but Lamar or Fields in a guillotine league where every point matters, just because of the matchups, is that even a
I
question for
think you
anybody
need to
else?
go to the waiver wire, Andrew. Let me
Well,
pull up our league and look at the waiver
it-
wire here,
it-
and I'm going to
That
tell
should
you who
be-
you should start.
That's closer than what I think most people want to admit because the
Yes,
Browns defense
it
for 3
definitely
weeks is legitimate. It is
Andrew,
Yeah.
legitimate.
go get Zach Wilson. He's available right now.
Oh
Start
my
Zach
God.
Wilson this week. Come on.
Ugh.
DTR over Zach Wilson.
I have DTR and Aiden O'Connell over Zach Wilson actually before the news even hit that Deshaun Watson and Jimmy G weren't playing. So
Andrew,
I'd
I
go
don't
Fields
know,
personally,
like-
Andrew. I would.
don't know about
I'm
you,
jaded
but-
a little because I've got my Browns glasses on, but that defense is incredibly good right now. You don't have J.K. Dobbins. You don't have Odell Beckham. You don't have Rashad Bateman. Is Beckham playing this week? You don't have Bateman. Like it's a bad. I think it's a bad week for the Baltimore Ravens.
No, but Andrew, speaking of guillotine, just like my go-to theory now is I have to leave the first round with an elite QB because it just sets that high floor in the first half of the season where you just need that consistency. Like that's been my just strategy the past 3 years is just elite QB, and it's helped a lot.
So I've got a start sit question for myself that I've been going back and forth on. I've got 3 running backs. I'm trying to pick one to put in my flex spot, my final flex spot. Roschon Johnson, Joshua Kelly, with Austin Eckler still out, or Jerome Ford. Where are you guys going? Dave, let's kick this one to you.
I'm going to go with the matchup here. It's probably an unpopular pick because he's been bad the last few weeks, but Josh Kelly.
Okay. Andrew?
Love, man. See, you just called out 2 guys I've been high on all offseason in Roschon Johnson and Jerome Ford. So I love them both equally. With Watson being out, box is going to be stacked probably against Jerome Ford, but he's been productive. Man. But you know what? This dude's gradually been getting more and more involved, and it's only a matter of time before before he overtakes Herbert. Let's go, Roschon Johnson, baby.
I love it. I love it. All right. Let's go to Adam. Adam, you got a start sit decision you're trying to make that you need any help with before we get out of here.
Let me look. Hold on. I've been sweating some of these.
All right. While you're looking, Dave, you got one on the top of your head?
Yeah, PPR, there's no flex. So the running backs are Kyron Williams, Stevenson, or Kamara.
Pick 2?
Pick one.
Pick 1. Ooh.
There's no flex, so I got to bench 2 of these guys.
You said it was Stevenson, Kamara, and who?
Stevenson, Kamara, and Kyron.
Ugh, shit. I'll probably take Kyron.
Currently
That's
at
tough,
Kyron. I know it's a good problem to have. I'm trying to trade Kyron and Darren Waller to get Kelsey, and the guy was like, "I'm too drunk," and then he sent me a terrible offer, and I'm like, "You must still be drunk. Come back to me later." He threw Tyreek Hill and for Waddle in the deal. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you Tyreek Hill. That's not. You don't counter with Tyreek Hill. Like, what do you do?
Yeah,
Kyron,
you
Kyron,
got
Kamara, Stevenson.
Kyron's getting all the volume. You think about Zeke and the red zone work, and I'd love to say Stevenson, but he's not getting all of the work like Kyron Williams.
And I'll say this
You know,
to
they're going
that,
up
like
against
I'm riding Kyron right now, but everybody, Kyron that's a trade. Like he's getting all this volume. He's 5'9", 195 pounds. Like it's not going to continue. Like that's a bad, like it's not going to continue. He's a solid trade candidate, just like Raheem Mostert is. Like trade some of these guys before it's too late. Like I would trade him for Jonathan Taylor right now if I could. You know, if you could, like a situation like mine where I could ride other guys and wait for it, like trade him before it's too late. That window is going to slam shut because none of these guys had any faith in those guys before the season started. So as soon as something happens, they're going to bail.
Yep. All right, Adam, you got yours?
Yeah. Pick 1. Jacoby Myers, Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco. Full point PPR. Yeah, see, I've been back and forth with just about every
That's
combination.
bad
under the sun.
matchup city.
Yeah, it is.
Brian Robinson has been getting great volume, but the matchup is awful. Pacheco gets the Jets, which is a little softer because Zach Wilson softened it up for everybody.
I can talk myself into any of the three guys, and that's what I've been
Yeah,
doing.
just throw it in the hat. Let the kid pull something out of that hat and then go with it, man. just throw the names in the hat. Let the little one make the decision today.
I'm going Brian Robinson.
I'll take Pacheco. I guess only reason is I think the Chiefs are blowing the Jets out of the water. Maybe they just run the ball.
That's how
more.
I got there. I was like, I think the Chiefs are just going to blow them out, which means it's a heavy Pacheco game. Or does that mean it's a heavy Clyde Edwards-Helaire game? Like,
yeah,
the Chiefs running backs make no sense to me because Pacheco looks like the most consistent guy, but doesn't get the work. And it's just been killing me all year.
He's just TD dependent because he's got a good game, like 80 yards in an NFL game. That's a really good game, but not for fantasy when you get 0 catches. But I think he falls into the end zone today. I'm going to go with TD upside.
I mean, I flipped him in one league. I flipped him and Zay Flowers for Chris Olave in a redraft league, and I was very happy to make that deal. I didn't even have to think about that.
All right. Ooh. Any last minute statements before we get out of here? Get our lineup set. Ooh, we got one. Blast me away. Let's get it. This is the last question, and we're getting out of here. We all got lineups to set, last minute rankings to get squared away. Are you rolling with Anthony Richardson or Kirk Cousins? Full point PPR.
Well,
Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson.
I'll take Cousins.
I'm going Cousins also. Man, we were super useful there. 2-2. 2-2.
I mean, the thing is it's like Dave and I, it seems like we very much value a rushing upside quarterback. We would much rather have the guy who we think can get 2 touchdowns in a week.
Blast me away real quick. Is it 4-point or 6-point passing touchdowns?
Oh, I assume 4-point passing touchdowns.
Yeah, that would make a difference.
The big reason I'm leaning away from Richardson is he's never played a player like Aaron Donald yet. So how is he going to respond to the disruptive nature that guy has and will wreak havoc on that offensive line? So that's why I want to see how. I get it. Yep, he looked really good against Houston. Okay, like whatever. How is he going to respond to a massive defensive line disadvantage that he's going to see this week?
So I will say this, Ryan Kelly is inactive. He's the cold center, but I would love to see the footage of Aaron Donald versus Quentin Nelson all game because that is going to be quite the matchup because he's pretty much going to be all helping the center out the whole game. But you're good with either of these. Blast me away. I think, Cousins.
Trade one of them.
Yeah, you're
trade
good.
One of them next week.
Yeah, I would take, AR-15 with my tight end and try to go get a top tier tight end or something like that. Like having 2 quarterbacks it doesn't really help you out in 1 quarterback leagues. You can stream one guy 1 week, but Cousins, he's pretty dependable. So I would trade AR-15, but I got both these guys in my top 9. Like you're good starting either of them, but I being 4-point touchdown, it does make a little bit of a difference. And I would move Cousins a little closer.
Love it. Love it. All right. Good luck. Blast me away. And hey, thanks for everybody that jumped in, asked questions, got their advice. Good luck to all of you this week as well. Andrew, Adam, Dave, thanks for jumping in. And hey, good luck to y'all as well. Let it ride.
Good luck this week.
See ya.